Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, a new Bitcoin signal just confirmed in the short term, while this massive warning signal is still flashing on the larger time frames, while Ethereum is now bouncing between support and resistance, and also playing out this new signal in the short term. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, we need to talk about the Bitcoin news today because on Friday, we saw another decent sized net outflow. This time around, it was a net outflow from the spot Bitcoin ETFs of just under $200 million, or more specifically around 190 million. And so just over the Thursday and Friday, just in those 2 days, we saw net outflows of over $400 million US, which is nearly $500 million of sell pressure. That is Bitcoin being dumped on the market just in those 2 days on Thursday and Friday. And so when we're seeing these decent sized net outflows, there's no surprise why we're seeing some bearish price action for Bitcoin in the shorter term, especially over the last 1 week or so, as we've seen more of these outflows over the last 1 week. But of course, the spot Bitcoin ETFs trade on the US stock market, and the stock market's closed over the weekend, which means we have no new inflows or outflows over the weekend. And with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, this is on the 4-day time frame, and over the last 1 day, nothing has really changed about this chart right here. So if you want to know more about this chart, then check out my last couple of videos here on the channel, because in those videos, I talked more in detail about what this chart actually means. And something similar can be said about this 3-day Bitcoin chart, because once again, over the last 1 day, this chart has not really changed all that much. So if you want to know more about this chart, check out my last video here on the channel. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin chart, as of right now, the DXY is still bouncing to the upside, as I said recently here on the channel. And as I've actually been warning about every day over the last 1 week, I've been saying we're starting to see a bounce to the upside in the DXY, which is a warning signal, a bearish signal for Bitcoin. And ever since I began warning about this around a week ago, we have indeed seen more bearish price action in the short term as expected. Because as we can see here, time and time again, when the DXY is trending in the bullish direction, that is almost always bearish for Bitcoin. But of course, when the DXY is trending in the bearish direction, that is almost always bullish for Bitcoin. And so now that we've seen more of a bullish trend reversal for the DXY, with higher highs confirmed in the DXY and also a higher low now confirmed here in the DXY, this bullish reversal signal for the DXY is once again a bearish reversal signal for Bitcoin. But when I'm talking about reversal signals and the trends on this chart right here on the daily time frame, I'm talking about the somewhat shorter term trends that usually last for sometimes just a few weeks, sometimes up to a couple of months. But these shorter term bearish trends can occur during the much larger bullish trend, also known as the bull market, because basically these short term bearish trends are essentially large pullbacks within the bull market, which we have seen time and time again. And this doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of the bull market. And so just for example, a possible scenario here is the price of Bitcoin could remain a little bit bearish in the shorter term, perhaps in the coming weeks, but then perhaps in a couple of months from now or half a year from now, we could be looking way more bullish. Of course, that is a possibility simply based on what we're seeing in the trends right now. And so that is why it is important to understand the difference between the different time frames, because of course, if we're talking about the shorter term, that is perhaps talking about the coming days or weeks, but the longer term is talking about the coming months or years. And with that being said, taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, and obviously over the last 1 day, we saw another daily candle close below this area of previous support, which should now act as resistance once again. And that area is sitting in between around 67,000 to 68,000. And we did actually see a small rejection in the imminent short term from that area, which is another short term bearish signal. And so once again, that area should now be considered resistance. And even if we see a confirmed breakout back above around 68,000, even in that case, we still have strong resistance right here in between around 72,000 to 74,000. And so as I've been saying basically every single day since all the way back up here, I've been saying non-stop that in order to expect the continuation of the larger bull market with the next major move to the upside, in order to actually expect that, we need to first see a confirmed breakout above this area of resistance. So ideally above 73 to 74,000 in order to flip much more bullish, which obviously as of right now has not happened. And as for short-term support, we do have some support in this area based on previous resistance and support, which is sitting in between around 63 to 64,000. And we also have a lot more support down towards 60 to 61,000 and more support at around 58,000 and 56,000. And so once again, in terms of the short-term trend and momentum, we're technically looking more bearish than bullish, at least as of right now. But ultimately, when we're zooming out, we're basically within a massive sideways consolidation, especially when we're talking about the larger trend at play. We're currently in a massive sideways consolidation. And if we're zooming into the much shorter term, looking at the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, we can see right now this new bullish divergence has officially been confirmed with a couple of green candle closes here in the price action, confirming the higher low in place in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI. And obviously, I talked about this potential bullish divergence in my last video, and obviously since then it has now been confirmed, which means we can now expect, at least in the short term, as in over the next 1 to 2 days or so, either a slight bullish relief or most likely some choppy sideways price action, basically relatively neutral price action, especially over the weekend. Because these areas mapped out on the chart right here are the weekends, the Saturdays and the Sundays, and usually over the weekends, those are the time periods where we see the lowest volatility. And so now that this bullish divergence is playing out, which I said in my last video will likely confirm anyway because we have the weekend coming up, and now that that's playing out, it's very likely that over the weekend the price will kind of chill out. We're no longer going to see that crazy pullback, that volatility that we saw during the week, at least just for the weekend. But potentially next week, when the new week starts, we could pick up that volatility again, because once again, we usually see the majority of the volatility during the week on the weekdays. And so overall, just to sum it up, over the weekend, I'm expecting a relatively neutral price action, nothing too much, but then starting next week, more volatility picking up. And as of right now, the short-term trend is bearish. Technically speaking, we are forming lower highs and lower lows, and we have broken below critical support and flashing this DXY reversal signal as well. But ultimately, zooming out to the much larger time frames, as in talking about what we could expect perhaps later this year, in the coming months, or even a year from now, we're still technically within a larger bull market. At least for now, we have not yet invalidated this price structure. And as we're waiting for the next trading opportunity that could potentially come very soon, make sure to get set up ready to go on an exchange so that you could take that next trading opportunity. And personally, I take my trades over on Bybit, so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit down below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it will take you to this page right here where you can claim an exclusive 200 USDT airdrop position, which is limited by the way. And to claim this free airdrop, all you have to do is make a Bybit account using that link, make a deposit and claim the airdrop. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well get set up ready to go over on Bybit using that link if you want to claim those extra bonuses. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex down below this video as an alternative crypto exchange. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we can see some more liquidity piling to the upside at around 67,500 approximately. A lot of the liquidity is sitting closer towards 67.6 to 67.7K. And so potentially with this bullish divergence now confirmed just in the short term, perhaps over the weekend, we could see a very slight bullish relief just to grab that area of liquidity that's only just above the current price. But with that being said, we also have more liquidity to the downside, sitting at around 64,500 to 65,000. And so it's possible we could perhaps play out that bullish divergence to grab that liquidity slightly above the current price and then continue on with some bearish price action perhaps next week sometime. And with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, and as of right now, we're actually bouncing right around this Fibonacci retracement level, which is sitting at around 40.70 to 40.80, give or take. And we did actually see a candle wick to the downside all the way down to this 50% retracement level, which was sitting at around 33.50, and we saw a bounce about $10 above that level, so just above this level of support. But if we're taking a look at this 12-hour time frame, we can see that right now the price of ETH is basically consolidating sideways between support and resistance based on this Fibonacci retracement tool drawn from this swing high down to this swing low, because that gives us the golden pocket area of resistance, which is sitting in between around 3.6k to 36.50, which is currently acting as resistance for the price of ETH, at least for now in the short term. And as for support, we have this 50% retracement level right here sitting at around 34.50. And so at least in the short term, those are the support and resistance levels to pay attention to. And as of right now, we're potentially just within a sideways consolidation during this short-term pullback. So it's possible we could form some sort of bearish flag here. But if we're taking a look at the 12-hour Ethereum RSI, just recently this got very close to oversold territories. It didn't actually enter into oversold, but it got very close to oversold territories. And the last couple of times this has happened, this marked a local low in the price, not necessarily the bottom of the short-term bearish trend, but at least a local low before a bit of a bounce. And so just be aware, it is possible to experience bounces back to the upside even during a pullback or a short-term bearish trend like what we saw just here. But this signal in the RSI by itself is not really enough to fully confirm the end of this short-term pullback and fully flip much more bullish again, because once again, we saw that signal right here and we did see a short-term bounce, but a couple of weeks later, we continued on with that short-term pullback, the short-term bearish trend. But of course, one of the reasons as to why we have seen a little bit of a bounce just in the imminent short term over the last one day in the price of ETH is due to this bullish pattern, which I talked about in my last video here on the channel. And as of right now, this bullish divergence is confirmed and playing out, because here on the 4-hour time frame, we have lower lows confirmed in the price in the candle closes and higher lows confirmed in the 4-hour Ethereum RSI. And once again, these bullish divergences most commonly play out in the form of either a slight bullish relief or just some choppy sideways price action as the most likely outcomes in the short term. And usually when we're looking at the 4-hour time frame, the bullish divergences play out over a few days before they begin basically wearing off and fading away into irrelevance. And so this bullish divergence is likely going to continue to play out at least over the next 1 to 2 days or so, but potentially in a few days or in a week from now, we could potentially continue on with a little bit more bearish price action. So just keep that in mind. And if we're taking a look at ETH BTC, this is Ethereum versus Bitcoin on the weekly time frame. And as of right now, just over the last one day, we've seen a little bit of a bounce to the upside in ETH BTC. But overall, when we're zooming out on the larger time frames, we're still technically within a massive bearish trend, forming lower highs and lower lows. And this can only really reverse once we actually see a confirmed breakout above this resistance and ideally above these previous highs, which at least as of right now has not happened. But I will keep you up to date on what's happening on this chart right here. And with that being said, taking a look at Solana on the 12-hour time frame, and right now the price of Solana is bouncing exactly from this area of support that I've been talking about over and over again since the price was actually all the way back up here. I said the moment we break below 160, expect a move fairly quickly down towards this area on the chart, and then expect some sort of bounce or support around that area, and that's pretty much exactly what has happened as expected. And so right now, this area is still acting as support, sitting in between around 140 to 144. But what if we actually broke below 140 with candle closes? If that actually happens, then in that case, we could potentially see a move towards this area of support, sitting in between 120 to 128. But once again, only if we confirm candle closes below 140, which as of right now has not happened. And once again, because we're now in a weekend, we should see a relatively low volatility just in the short term. So I'll not be surprised if we see a very slight bounce from this support, or perhaps just some sort of sideways consolidation. But ultimately, it is unlikely we're going to see a lot of volatility over the weekend, and we're also likely going to follow similar price action as what Bitcoin and Ethereum is doing. So if Bitcoin and Ethereum are playing out those short-term bullish divergences, we could perhaps see a very slight bounce or bullish relief just over the weekend, perhaps over the next few days for the price of Solana. But technically speaking, we're still within a short-term bearish trend if we're simply looking at the lower highs and lower lows and the momentum in the market right now. Things are simply looking more bearish than bullish, even if we see a bit of a bounce over a few days, because remember, a short-term bearish trend can contain some bullish price action here and there, just like how a short-term bullish trend can contain some short-term pullbacks here and there. And as for resistance, we still have a lot of resistance right around 160, and these other levels on the chart have not changed over the last one day. And once again, if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, you can profit from all of that price action by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.